Hey everybody, got another video here for you. So when it came time to buy the gear for this new shop after the old shop burned up, I had, been collecting guitar related tools for 5 years at that point, and I needed a quick and easy way to replace everything that I needed. And I discovered these online. This is a refretting kit that I think was about $70. And this is a fret leveling kit that was about $60. And between the two of them, the only other things I had to buy was I bought a flat fret beveling file so that I can bevel at any angle I want. And I bought a Stu Mac fret file, fret in dressing file. And about the only other thing is that it doesn't come with is like a notch straight edge, and I don't use those anyway. So yeah, now it's time to do some fret work here. The basic battle plan is less is more is my current approach to fret work, and I'm going to start by checking my bevel here, make sure nothing's sticking out. Then I'll use the fret in dressing file, knock down corners, and then I think that rolling will take care of it because the tops don't seem to be in bad shape. So that's the battle plan. So I was thinking about how I could touch up this one spot where it's not glossy, and I'm not sure that a paintbrush coming in with spraying some clear on a piece of paper and coming in with a paintbrush, I'm not sure that it would self-level sufficiently that it wouldn't stand out a lot doing that. And, if that didn't work, then I'd be looking at trying to have to sand back, and I got the tape right here and stuff. I'm thinking that probably the safest approach would be to mask it off like here and on the sides up here, and re-clear coat the entire back of the headstock. But I think for the moment I'm just going to leave it, and I can always do that. I can always mask it off and re-clear coat the back of the headstock later. That's not really an issue. I mean, even once I got hardware and stuff on it, it's just a little tape and paper and away you go. So I'm going to leave that for now, and I'm going to move on to the fretwork. Part of the reason why I'm leaving is that I'm not certain that masking and resquirting wouldn't still leave some kind of a visual artifact between these two surfaces, or two finishes. So as you saw there, I wasn't really filing so much as I was using the file to feel whether anything was sticking out. The only thing that was even close was this end of the 11th fret, so I think that's going to do it for this thing. As you can see, I'm not so much just knocking the edges, the corners off, as I am like shaping the ends carefully. And now I got 23 more frets to go. And to save tape, just peel it up, move it down to the next fret. You can usually get about 3 frets out of one piece of tape. Then get a fresh piece of tape, keep going. Ready for file. I was sitting here doing this, and all of a sudden, it was reminding me of gapping rings on race engines. Because after you grind the ring end gap on a piston ring for a race motor, you use a file like this, and you have to truss the fret end, so to speak. So, yeah, rounding ring end gaps after filing ring end gaps on a piston ring is a lot like this. Dressing ends on rings is very similar to dressing ends on frets. So, picture's worth 1,000 words. This is what I'm doing to the frets in general. Here's your fret end like that. And first I came in with the beveling file to make sure that's not sticking out too far. And now I'm coming in with the fret end dressing file, and I'm kind of reshaping the bottoms to be more like that, rounded. That kind of an idea. Can you even see that? Yeah, more rounded. And then, yeah, there's 3 places where a fret can be sharp. It can be sharp here. That's what the beveling file takes care of. It can be sharp at these bottom corners. That's what the fret end dressing file takes care of. It can be sharp also right along this arc here at the end. And that's what rolling the edge of the fretboard with sandpaper should take care of. And that should take care of everything, make everything all nice and glass smooth. And by doing this, you have a tendency to reduce the chance of fret sprout in the future. Now, I use tape on this because it gives you the best chance of getting right down in there without messing up the fingerboard. And you still have to be very careful when you're doing it, because by the time you're done, the stuff that you're removing, you're going to be right on exposed fingerboard while you're working. So you have to be very careful. But something like a fret pulling guard or a fret polishing guard, the metal on them, it's awfully thick for doing this kind of work. So as you go along and do this, the shape of the end of the fret, if this camera would focus, the shape of the end of the fret here goes from like an arch to more of a circle, and the camera won't quite focus. Oh well. Arches and circles. It'll almost focus. But yeah, the end of the fret where it's beveled, the profile, the cross-sectional profile changes from like an arch to a circle. It's pretty noticeable, except through a blurry camera. Well, that step's all done. It took a couple hours, but it's worth it. Probably can't see much through the camera, but yeah, it's all starting to approach hot dog ends kind of a thing. all the way down the fingerboard now. And the next step is to come in with some sandpaper and start rolling and polishing. Okay, time to roll this thing. I want to use I don't want to go any coarser than necessary because it just means I have to run through more grits to sand out all the marks before I can polish. So I'm going to start with 600, see how it goes. So I've taken the 600 and I wrapped it around the flat side of the StewMac fret dressing file. That'll give me a very nice small braiding tool, I guess you would call it. I'm using my hand to control the angle of the neck in relation to the tool, and I'm tilting it so it's just barely starting to touch the ends of the frets as I go up and down. Well, that actually did it. It didn't really take much at all. You can, I don't know if you can see it here or not. Yeah, a little bit of a lighter line right along the edge here. That's the roll. Gave it just a little bit of chamfer, but enough to smooth it out. And the ends of the frets are now all nice and smooth. Only thing is they're still kind of scratched up from the original machine beveling at the factory. So I'm going to need to sand away at those a bit in order to get them closer to satin finish so I can polish. But everything's smooth. Now I just have to take out the factory scratches and hit the other side, of course. Well, that was easy. I just took some of the 600 grit and ran along the edge of the ends, and they polished up to a nice satin real quick like. So that should be ready for polishing. No more scratch marks in the ends. They're all nice and satiny looking now. So yeah. Well, the camera won't pick them up, but there's still some barely visible scratch marks on the ends of the frets from the original bevel filing. So, I probably should have gone down to something a little coarser than 600 grit and then gone back through the grits. But it's barely noticeable, so I'm not going to worry about it. Well, I've hit a snag. The tape masking off whichever fret I'm on down here. It stuck to the Teflon tape and pulled it away along with the clear coat. Pulled it away from the flat black. So it looks like what I'm going to have to do is I'll finish polishing the frets, and then I'll have to take this off, and hopefully the gold won't come off with it. The black doesn't seem to come off with it, but the clear coat does seem to come off with it. So I'll have to remove this Teflon tape and try again, I guess. That also would explain what's going on, like over here and that spot over there. And there's one up here now too. So these are all areas where the stuff's starting to pull up and get air underneath it, because the paint layers are separating and the tape's coming away. So yeah, gonna have to deal with that. Okay, frets are all polished up, and now it's time to deal with this tape. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. So, until the next one, everybody, have a good one.